Last episode was about rails. Today we're going to check an actual train. I will be using the smooth stone slabs rails we made last time, and we'll be starting with some undesigned stairs and grey concrete. While Keith is building, I want to say that on today's video I will not build an usual train. It's a 4930 Hagley Hall built in 1929. It is a Great Western Railway 460 Hall class locomotive. It is one of 11 of this class that made it into preservation. I will also do a general tutorial on how to build a train in Minecraft to make things simple on one of the next episodes. This tutorial was asked to me from a subscriber some time ago under the snowflake video. I hope you will enjoy building this as much as I did. He also provided me with great locomotive documentation, so I hope I will be using the right terms to define stuff. Anyways, this tutorial is all for you, and I will be speaking throughout all of this, telling you the blocks to use and what you're building. If you want to stay, even if you don't want to build it, this will be a great journey. First of all, I have to address the fact that I had to modify the number of wheels we will find on this vehicle. Let me explain. As I just said, this locomotive has a 460 wheel configuration, and what I'm going to build today is a 482, which has in fact 4 wheels more than the original. I had to do it for recreating an harmonious shape, just as it is in real life. Now, let's see at what point I've arrived. Basically, we've built the first 2 small wheels that are called the leading wheels, the so-called cylinder, the 4 driving wheels that should have been only 3, and now I've built the body down under. The size of the slab's rectangle is 28 per 3 blocks and an additional 3 blocks at the back. Now we're going to focus on the actual piping on the extern of the wheel, on the side of the wheels. This part is technically called coupling rods, or just simply side rods. Their use is to connect the driving wheels of a locomotive and transfer the power of drive to all wheels. Basically, I have to connect all of them. In general, all railroad vehicles have spring suspension. Without springs, irregularities in the track could lift wheels off the rail and cause impact damage to both rails and vehicles. Driving wheels are typically mounted so that they have around 1 inch of vertical motion. Practically now I've used some blackstone polished slabs and stairs to accomplish the structure on the side of the wheels, and I will finish the whole structure with exactly end roads. I used them because they're the block that most inspired me to represent these pipes. I could have used maybe iron bars, but they don't extend on the horizontal axis, and also I couldn't think of any other. And now what you will have to do simply is just copy what you've just built and paste it symmetrically on the other side. Just repeat the steps I've done, but inversed, and we will be good to go for the next part, some bodywork. Collect yourself some black concrete because, oh man, it's gonna be a carnage of squids for this. Anyways, remember the big blackstone slab rectangle we made before? Yeah, we're basically going to place a ton of black concrete on it. Not 1, not 2, but 3 layers of it. And after all, for this absolute unit, some also on the wheels. The people call this part the locomotive frame, or simply running board. A locomotive frame is the structure that forms the backbone of the railway locomotive, giving it strength and supporting the superstructure elements such as the cab, boiler or bodywork. The vast majority of locomotives have a frame structure of some kind. On this model, and what I'm building right now, it's a plate frame where they used steel plates about 50 mm thick. Wait, 50 mm? That's like as thick as my dick. They were mainly used in Britain and continental Europe. In fact, this is a British locomotive, as I said at the beginning. And also, some early designs were double framed, where the frame consists of two plates. Logically. Anyways, as you can see as well, it's good enough in game, to be honest. It's not looking that bad after all. Let's just place those last concrete blocks on top of the wheels and then we'll start with the next step. We want to grab some polished blackstone stairs and slabs, and dark prismarine slabs. Our goal now is to widen a bit the running board and implement some splashers on the sides. On British Railway standard locomotives, the footplate, it's another name for the running board, was high enough to clear the wheels. On earlier British locomotives, the tops of the driving wheels usually projected the stuff through slots in it, and then they were covered by splashers. This term is analogous to mudguards on a road vehicle. As you can see right now, with the dark prismarine, I'm recreating the green we see in the original picture, giving it a shape of what you may think a splasher looks like. Also, for this one in the middle, we're going to change it a little bit. If we check the original locomotive, we see a kind of plate on the mid-splasher. This is called a nameplate, and it's located on both sides of this engine. Since I can't write stuff like how we say it in real life, I'll just make a custom splasher for the mid one and I will call it a day for it. So basically, when we finish all those splashers, we just have to recreate what I've just built on the other side, just as we did before. And we will get ready for the next part. A wholesome face. Yeah, you guessed it. We're going to build the front of this absolute unit. We're going to start with blackstone stairs, slabs, and the red concrete blocks. With the blackstone, we want to make the front wider with some simple structure. With the red blocks, just color the very front line with just 7 red concrete blocks, and with the use of red nether brick blocks, we will be continuing with this color and we will make the very front of it. Next, some other black blocks to place on top, and get yourself also some iron, because we're going to need some of it. This part of the train, in front of the running board, is the very front of the locomotive, but it doesn't have a specific name actually. We know that those 2 red nether bricks thingies on front are called bumpers. They're the piece of locomotive that, whenever you're arriving at max speed into a train station, they're there to stop the moving vehicle in order to save you from almost certain death if the train is going fast, less certain death if it's going at normal speed, and you will probably can survive if it's slow. The structure that will hold the train from the bumpers is called the buffer stop, and they're located in train station where the railroad ends and the train, if uncontrolled, smashes on it. While doing my researches, I was impressed by the fact that this model doesn't have a cow catcher in front of it to prevent stuff on the railway to obstruct its movement. In fact, as I found out, being an English locomotive, the cow catchers were actually used only in America. In Britain, they use these so-called lifeguards, which are provided immediately in front of the wheels. They knock away smaller obstacles lying directly on the running surface of the railhead. You're seeing me switching up the iron trapdoors I placed. Well, that's because if you can't activate them yourself, you're going to need to use those crimson trapdoors instead, since you can activate those yourself. Also, I suggest you to replace all of them, since otherwise you're going to have a color discrepancy. I'm going to switch back to iron cause I can, and that's about it for the whole front part. Are you ready for some butt exercise? This is a very fast chapter. I could have connected it with the previous one, but you know, front and back are different and I'm having kind of fun by naming those chapters. Anyways, you see me changing the color of this black concrete to white concrete because it's not that easy to work with. If you have shaders like me, it's just a pain in the buttocks. We're mainly going to use black concrete for this. It's just a structure that will later sustain the cab and will be the part that will attach the engine to the tender. So basically, build a structure with black concrete and not white concrete, as you see me doing. You don't want to kill the skeletons for this locomotive, you want to kill them squids, alright? Kill them all. Anyways, easy and clean. Now take an iron block and 2 levers for the railway coupling, and then 4 blackstone stairs and 12 slabs for some little stairs on the sides. Yeah, by the way, you won't be able to actually use them, I'm sorry, but don't cry about it. I actually suggest you to get ready for some hair job. I misread. I think I have to make you aware that when I say stuff like this is only for your visual enjoyment, alright? Anyways, I'm going to use the white concrete strategy again. It's cool that now I can see the blocks I'm placing instead of when it's sadly all Vanta black and you focus on building, but you get my point, I hope. In this first part, we're building the smoke box and we're just going to use the blocks we've been normally using for the past 10 minutes. So this thing has a cylindrical form and it's in its optimal shape, if I gotta be honest. Like, I tried a lot of models and this one was the better looking. We're going to connect the cylinders we made at the beginning in the first chapter to this thing with andesite walls. And that's all for this smoke box. I mean, if I had a total area of 1 billion blocks, I could have made all the details that this machine actually has, but I'll sadly just stick to that. This next part is just very monotone. Gather yellow and green concrete and we just have to continue the cylinder with those blocks as you're seeing on the screen. When I say monotone is because, yes, but we're actually building the most important components in the locomotive. For example, we're going for the boiler here. This machine is kind of fascinating. Let me explain. First of all, the boiler grate burns the solid fuel which produces hot gases that start flowing in the fire tubes, transferring heat to them. The boiler water surrounds the flue tubes. The heat of these flue gases is transferred to the water. Due to that, water will start converting into steam. The produced steam is in saturated form, and a steam dome uses to collect this steam. This collected steam may be directly utilized to run the steam engine, or firstly you may convert it into a superheated state, then use this superheated steam. The superheated steam is used often because it's more powerful. Basically, it's just steam at a temperature that is higher than its evaporation point, and at the absolute pressure. So that's the boiler. The coal gets ignited inside of the firebox, and here in whatever I'm building, we can distinguish it by the fact that it is a little bit more cubic, if you will. The firebox is exactly what you may expect. In a steam engine, the firebox is the area where the fuel is burnt, producing heat to boil the water in the boiler. Most are somewhat box-shaped, hence the name. The hot gases generated in the firebox are pulled through a rack of tubes running through the boiler, just as I said before. We're basically done with this chapter. All we need to do is just add some andesite walls, and it's not something you will find in the original picture, but it's something I made because I thought it was kinda missing something. Also, I will be changing some green concrete blocks into green terracotta blocks because that's how it's colored in the original model and I want to stick with it. Am I an hypocrite? What? Don't be a fool, because the next chapter is gonna kick ass. Some rim decorations. The situation is getting kinda out of hand, I know, and I'm sorry about it. I'm not. Anyways, now it's just a fancy memento. where I'm actually going to decorate a bit the extern of this main cylinder we just built. I'm doing it mainly because this part is very empty and staying in the theme. These add-ons I'm doing are actually not that disturbing if you're a train enjoyer. The video is a bit sped up because it's very intuitive what I'm doing, and this is all we'll be doing on the sides. On top though, I will add first of all the chimney. This is the part of the engine through which smoke lifts the boiler. I know it's very minimalistic, but it gives the idea of what it is. Now I'm building the dome. I haven't talked about this yet. It basically has this opening to the main steam pipe, where all the steam is transferred through. It keeps this opening to be way above the water level in the boiler. Alright, now that also that is done, go on the other side and build the same decorations you've done before. And if we go on front, where we find the smoke box door, we have to add some stuff here. If you have access to commands, use the string I will leave in the comments to get it, otherwise use buttons. Anyways, let's get all prepped up and we will be good to go for the thing. Huge. Well, the thing is the cab. And it's huge. No, actually, it will be good scaled, respectively, with the overall body. We will be using pretty much the same blocks we've been using before. We have just some entries like brown terracotta and a furnace, I think. Anyways, the cab, the crew compartment or driver's compartment of a locomotive or a self-propelled rail vehicle is the part housing the train driver, the fireman and the second man, if any, and the controls necessary for the locomotive or rail vehicle to operate. On steam locomotives, the cab is normally located to the rear of the firebox, although steam locomotives have sometimes been constructed in a cab forward or camelback configuration. In addition to the locomotive controls, a cab will typically be fitted with windshields, rectangular side windows, crew seats, heating, and sometimes even radios, air conditioning, and toilets. What I'm building right now is the floor of the cab. These poor lads obviously can't stay on the open air, so yeah, we're making one for it, and just after this, we'll check the firebox opening door. Anyways, as you can see, it's pretty cool. I made it so that it has this kind of circular shape, and it's in the locomotive's theme after all. As soon as we're done, it's time for the firebox door. Basically, this is where the fireman, I suppose, yeets the coal inside the firebox so that the locomotive stays in function. I'm aware that he also controls the amount of coal that he puts in so that he can manage the fuel in order to not waste it and optimize the train's travel. I managed also to place 2 seats inside the cab, and I thought that it was enough to fulfill the emptiness. Actually, yeah, I've decorated also the outside with the same theme we did before, and in my opinion, we're ready for the last chapter. The Sponger. I will be honest with you, I didn't even know that by searching Parasite synonym, I would A. actually find something cool, B. the Sponger. Anyways, this chapter is the final and I'm sad because it will declare the end of our journey. I could have split this chapter in 2, but I have kinda some masochist intentions. Anyway, the video is also a bit sped up here. It's because we've done those things at the beginning and it's pretty basic building. If you don't still know what I'm currently building, I will tell you in a second. This is the tender. A tender or coal car is a special rail vehicle hauled by a steam locomotive containing its fuel and water. Shut the fuck up. Containing its fuel and water. Steam locomotives consume large quantities of water compared to the quantity of fuel. so their tenders are necessary to keep them running over long distances. A locomotive that pulls a tender is called a tender locomotive. Locomotives that do not have tenders and carry all their fuel and water on board the locomotive itself are called tank locomotives. In this case, this is a tender locomotive, logically. The largest steam locomotives are semi-permanently coupled by a drawbar to a tender. The fuel source used depends on what is economically available locally. In the UK and parts of Europe, a plentiful supply of coal made this the obvious choice for the earliest days of the steam engine. Until around 1850, in the United States, the vast majority of locomotives burned wood until most of the eastern forests were cleared. After that, coal burning became more widespread, and wood burners were restricted to rural and logging districts. The water supply in a tender was replenished at water stops and locomotive depots from a dedicated water tower connected to water cranes or gantries. Refilling the tender is the job of the fireman, who, as we said before, is responsible for maintaining the locomotive's fire as well as the steam pressure and supply of fuel and water. My microphone was about to fall. Alright, so we've done half of it for now. We're kinda at midpoint. Basically, what you've seen me building right there was the wheels, the body and the drawbar that will connect this tender to the engine. There's something I have to say that I didn't get inside my mind very clearly, and I have a question to you who are still watching. Is the tender still considered part of the locomotive? Answer in the comments if you know the answer to this question, and well, in my opinion, since this is something that the train needs for long distances, but it's not necessary to have it, I think the tender is not considered in the locomotive, but I'm not sure. Anyways, we see that it's getting shaped right now. The tender is not closed on the cab's side. Well, that's because basically otherwise you wouldn't be able to get that sweet coal out of it. The tender is quite as big as the cab, and it has the same colors. I tried to make this as realistic as possible because, as I already told you, I want this to be a cool copy of the Hagley Hall locomotive. We're coming into the last steps into this. While I'm building whatever I'm building, I want to say that I found another locomotive really similar to this one. Its name is 4472 Flying Scotsman. It's another British locomotive, but it was built for the London and North Eastern Railway, a different company than ours. The locomotive set 2 world records for steam traction, becoming the first steam locomotive to be officially authenticated at reaching 100 miles per hour, and then setting a record for the longest non-stop run by a steam locomotive when it ran 422 miles in Australia. It's just amazing how I could have said this locomotive I'm building was the Flying Scotsman instead of this Hagley Hall that apparently the only popular thing it did was appearing in a documentary in 1986 with other fellow GVR bros and featuring passenger trains on the SVR in another program in 1996. I mean, good job train. I think we're coming into an end, guys. This video was very painful to make, not easy at all. If you made this far into the video, please let me know so I will notice the fact that I didn't do this for nothing and someone actually listened to my funny stories. Also, if you got any ideas you want me to make, I will listen. I always write them down. Point is that those videos, apart from this one, take me about a week, and having a lot of ideas brings me into a lack of ideas. Don't ask me how. What I want to say is that I will make a general tutorial on how to make trains in Minecraft, since this was just very specific on the 4930 Hagley Hall. Also, if you got any questions about this, just ask me in the comment section, I'll be happy to reply to you. And that was episode 28 of this build series. I'm gonna leave it like this, yeah. Smash like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. I had to do it for recreating an harmonious, oh my god. And now, what you will have to do is simply just copy what you've... all the details that this machine, yes, Keith. You